Club Show with Jacquie Wayans. Inspiration through word and song for you.
Hello and welcome to Don't Give Up and Win. I'm your host, Jacquie Wayans, and I am so happy to be back with you to bring you another story, another journey of a particularly wonderful woman. Yes, her name is Keisha Mayo, and she is author, she is singer, she is playwright, she is doing it all. She's even a designer of her own line called Keywear. But behind all of that, she has written a book called Deceit. And this book may look like it's fiction, but it is not. It is nonfiction. It is a true account of a situation that happened to her, and she has pulled back the window of her heart in order to share with you and share with me what she has learned from a process that could have broken her, but because she did not give up, she's here today as a winner to share her story of hope. Keisha Mayo, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jacquie.
It is
Such
a pleasure. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, you know, I love all stories that share what God is doing in our lives and how he can move even through the darkest and the most broken places.
Yes.
But you are just fabulous, and I can't wait to hear more about the things that you're doing today. But let's go back. I know that you grew up in the church.
Yes.
And, you know, when we're young and developing and forging our own dreams and hopes for the future, we see things sometimes not as they really are. So I know I grew up on black and white movies, and I love the old romantics and the classics, and I thought that's what a relationship, that's what a marriage would look like. And so I had to grow up and find out that that was fiction. For you, what did you see when you were growing up in the church and your family that made you think, I want to get married when I grow up, I want to have, you know, this special thing?
Well, first I want to say to God be the glory for everything you said. You know, I give him the praise. But what I saw was, you know, in the church, everybody was getting married, you know. So from the outside, it looked like, you know, there was so much love and, you know, everyone connecting. So that's something that I always wanted. And, you know, growing up, we're always taught to look for that good man. Well, not even to look. The good man gonna find you.
Gonna find you, yes.
So, you know, but as a young child, we all want the fairy tale wedding and the man that's going to love you to death, do you part.
Yes.
You
yes.
know? So, yeah.
One of the things that's really interesting about growing up in a church environment is that you have the group that grows up together, that cohort that moves together. And it's a group of friends that you convince your parents it's okay to go to movies with them because, you know, they're from Sunday school or what have you.
Right.
So did you have a cohort as you were growing up, and were there any prospects in that cohort?
Well, I was pretty shy growing up, so I wasn't really into the boys like that. You know, I mean, although there were people interested in me, I kind of shied away from it. Even though, you know, I wanted the relationship, but that shyness would take over. So,
All
you
right.
know, it wasn't, I really at that time wasn't looking to be in a relationship.
You were not boy crazy, which
No.
is perfectly fine.
Not at all.
Then as we get closer to our 20s,
Yes.
those dreams become a little bit more intense.
Right.
So what happened as you started to, you know, approach your womanhood, you know, enter into your 20s? What did you see? Who did you encounter and you thought, this is the
Well,
one?
during that time, all of my friends were getting married and, you know, starting a family. And it's like, wow, you know, I want the same. You know, when we were all hanging together and, you know, like I said, growing up in the same church and everybody's, you know, connecting with each other in the same church, you know, everybody just assumed, okay, we can connect these two. These two will be great together.
Okay.
You know, and what I found is, you know, you wait on God.
Well, now, I don't want to rush you, though,
Okay.
because that is very key. It's very important. I've experienced that myself, where it seems like there's two that just look like they belong together,
Yes.
and everyone comes into agreement
Yes.
that they're the ones,
Yes.
they're the next wedding, no matter what they think about the
Right.
situation. And you have to, you know, it's very hard for a young person to have enough internal integrity and character developed to kind of buck against that. So I think that is a mistake, a lot of pressure
Yes.
that even families can put on young people and say, you really belong together,
Right.
and to put that seed in there. So a seed was planted, and so you two became serious?
We became serious. It took, just spending time together. The more you're with the person, the more you start seeing things that, maybe I do like him,
Okay, all right.
So yeah, so it took time because he actually was interested in me before I even thought about him.
Okay.
So yes, it
How
was
did
one.
he show his interest early on?
He would draw little pictures in church and look at me, with the mirror and, sharing with his cousin, that he was interested in me. So
Okay.
I knew it, but I didn't feel the same.
Okay. All right. So who proposed? I have to ask because we're living in a culture. So
No,
he
he did.
proposed, and you said
Yes.
yes. And at that time, did you believe that he was the one?
Yes.
You did.
I felt we had so much in common and, we both had, goals that we both wanted to accomplish. I thought we were really good together, as far as, reaching what we were striving for.
Okay. Well, as you know, the title of her book is called Deceived. So clearly, not everything went as planned. When we return, we will speak some more with Keisha Mayo about exactly what were some of the red flags that started to appear to let her know this was not the way to go when we come back.
Ladies and gents, welcome to the rock show. Center spotlight, and we watch the stage glow. Backstage access, but you're seated at the front row. House lights shut off, and here we go. Get up, like a one in a million. Get up, like a diamond, you're brilliant. Get up, oh don't stop believing. You're a star tonight. Like we got no likes, just pass the show tonight. Paparazzi show me in my suit and tie. Campus got me feeling like I'm so alive. We're meant to be. 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 We're meant to be.
I come from a big family. I'm the oldest of 6. To me, being the first person to go to college, it's like setting a standard, My little brother is 8 years old now. I challenge his curiosity. I challenge him to dream. I have to paint a picture for him that he can look up to and live up to and possibly be better than. My name is Jacquez, and I am your dividend.
Don't you give up now. Don't you give up now.
This is crazy. Oh my. What's going on here?
Good afternoon, New York University.
Hi.
Speaking. How may I help you?
How you doing, Miss? My name is Nicole Williams, and I'm calling to find out if you ever had a Raymond Williams attend your school.
Sorry, but we've never had anyone by the name of Raymond Williams attend our school.
What?
And we are back with my guest, Keisha Mayo, talking about her account of a marriage gone way south. And we're going to find out exactly what happened and what were some of the red flags. And the reason why we're sharing this, of course, is not to dismiss the institution of marriage in any way. But what we want to do is make sure that we are mature and ready to make those decisions. I got married very young myself. I was 23 years old. And as mature as I thought I was, I really wasn't wise in what it meant to understand myself as a whole individual and what it takes to live with someone for the rest of your life and what qualities need to be there. And I have think of the Michael Jackson Thriller video, right? And at the beginning of the video, she's got his leather jacket on, and he's so dreamy, and it's beautiful, and you're like, yes, Lord, he's the one, he's the one. And then that moment where the moon comes out, and he changes, and you're like, Lord, he is not the one. So what was your moment where you're like, Lord, this is not what I thought it was? What happened?
Well, that moment was when his mother passed away. I think, that's when everything started. I started seeing a lot of things. I believe she was his backbone. And once she left, he just couldn't take it anymore. So once he left, it was like God just started revealing a lot of stuff, to me. And I started finding things in the house. And, forged education, forging degrees and different things. And I'm like, oh my God. So it was that moment, like, I thought I knew this man. And that's the sad part when you grow up with somebody from a young age, and your families are in the same church. You think you know this person,
Right.
and really, you really don't know a person.
So you're saying that everyone thought that he had degrees,
Yes.
and they were actually forged?
Yes, I was in college. He was supposed to have been in college at the
Right,
same
right.
time. Yeah, so we actually, he said he went for his MBA, and from getting his MBA, he went on to law school, and I was in school at the same time, so I had no reason to go behind him
Right,
to see
right.
what he was doing.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, everything was revealed, and I started finding things in the house. So it was that moment where I said, oh my God, would a real person please stand up?
Wow.
Where is he? Because
Yeah.
this is not the man that I married.
That's very stripping when you put your trust in someone and you find out that it was lies destroy
After
quicker
lies.
than anything else. Lies destroy. And so that was one thing that propped up. And I wrote this book. It's called Don't Give Up and Win, A Survival Guide to Renewed Virginity. And, I've been a proponent of abstinence and celibacy, and still I am. And I know you and this gentleman also decided before marriage that you were going to abstain. You were going to hold yourselves for marriage.
Yes.
And that's great. But usually that means on the honeymoon night, you're really excited to no longer hold that. Was that the situation for you?
I was excited. I was ready. But no, we didn't consummate the marriage.
But that's a big blow and red flag right there, because
really
it's
big
one
blow.
thing to say, we're doing this for the Lord, we're doing this so that we can make our relationship stronger and better.
Right.
And another thing when it's now okay.
Right.
And for some reason, it doesn't happen. And so that led to another red flag that you discovered about him
Yes.
during this season.
Yes. And I stayed. Growing up in the church, you're taught to marry one time. For better, for worse. God is going to work it out. And so, I took what I grew up on and I tried to make this thing work, and it was just a test that I had to go through.
Well, there is this term, down low, that happens in our society where we have men, particularly of, minority descent, African American descent, things of that nature, and a lot of women who have waited their whole lives for the one. Sometimes they end up even getting diseases, or their hearts and lives being completely crushed because the person they're married is living a dual lifestyle. Right. Were there any indications of that in your world?
There was one thing said. Now, I'm not saying he was on the down low. I have no idea. But I recall an incident where we were arguing, and he said, well, how do you know it's a woman? So that was something that always stuck with me. But I have no idea.
All right. I see. I see. So things are building. They're compounding. And you're trying to make this work. What does that do to your psyche, for your emotions? Where did you start to go mentally and emotionally as you started to discover these things?
I think I just withdrew myself from pretty much everyone, too ashamed, too embarrassed. How do you tell people that this happened to you? Someone that loved the Lord with a whole heart and,
Yeah.
lived for God, and this is the mate that I got, you know? So it was very hurtful. So I kind of lost a lot of friends because they didn't understand me, and I couldn't share with them, I wanted to, but, it was just one of those things where I was just too embarrassed.
And I understand that full well. That embarrassment causes you to be isolated. Once you are isolated, believe me, depression is not far behind. So even though it's your natural intuition to pull away, I encourage you that if you are in a situation like this or similar in some ways, that you find a trustworthy voice that you can lean on and talk to so that you don't have to go through it alone. Because Keisha Mayo is a success story. She is a victor. And when we come back, we're going to find out all about that side of the story too.
If I got to go to college, oh my goodness. I like discovering new things. You get to see what works for you and what doesn't. That helps you evolve as a person. You get to make like a supernova of skill or talent or whatever it is. I've always wanted to go to college. I just feel like that's my destiny. My name is Queen, and I am your dividend.
I mean, I was just a kid. And you never knew what mood he was gonna be in when he came home. It was brutal. My dad, he would come home, and there's one time where...
Good job, bring it back. Chad wasn't a football player per se. He was just a kid that needed to be a part of something. I don't think he had anyone as a role model or someone showing him what to do. It's okay, you're doing good. You're okay.
Coach Marr was the only person I really trusted in this town. He was always there.
And I'm so proud of you. You've done well. Done well.
Don't you give up now. Don't you give up now.
And we're back, and we're here to share with you how Keisha Mayo was able to get over that huge hump in her way when she realized that Prince Charming was not Prince Charming at all. And so now she had to go through the process of rebuilding her life. And many times we hear stories and we just don't know, how did they find the strength to get from here to there and to move on? So for Keisha, what was it for you? Can you give us one or two things that helped you through?
Well, what actually helped me through was staying in the church.
Okay.
Although there was times when I would, get to church when it already started and leave before it was over, I knew I needed to be around that strength. And another thing, at the time, I never knew why I was writing a book, but it was therapy for me at the time. So I believe that was the process, because no longer was I hiding what I went through. Now the world knows, so I can no longer be ashamed. And once I realized that it was no longer about me, but it was about those people that God wanted me to reach, to let them know that there's life after deception, that's how I knew, that God was bringing me out.
I love that. Life after deception.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's what we really need to know. We need to understand that there are going to be crushing blows that happen in life, but you can still have hope. It's not the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
And even though this book, the title is Deceived, you don't have to stay deceived. The scripture says that Eve was deceived, right? But you learn from deceptions. And,
Yes.
and what's also beautiful is the fact that what's done in the dark will always come out to light. Can you give me a tip, or actually look into your camera and give a tip to a young woman looking for Prince Charming, or even better, a young man who's looking for his queen? They're 20 years old. They're just starting out in life. You know, they might be 30 years old. What would you say to them to keep them from being deceived?
I would say wait on God. You know, if I had waited on God and prayed and asked God for discernment rather than letting people match us together, I think, you know, that eliminates a lot of hurt, you know, because people just see what they see on the outside, but they don't know what people really have going on the inside. But if we pray and ask God, God, really show me what's in this man, show me what's in this woman, you know, God will reveal things. Because I even started seeing things later on that I said, oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh, wow.
You know, so God will show you things. Is for you to ask him. You know, but if you just so happy and you want to be in a relationship because everybody else is in a relationship,
which is not the right motive.
Exactly. You know, so my thing is wait on God. You know, God will send you that woman and God will send you that man that you're supposed to have.
Now's time for the Don't Give Up and Win takeaway moment.
Our guest today went through something extremely traumatic, something that no woman or man for that matter wants to experience in their life. I went through a divorce myself, and I can tell you that it really just can crush you to your soul. But one of the things that's important to do is to take a look at the path and the journey that you walked on and to figure out what allowed you to get there. One of the things that's really important to understand is two half people cannot come together and make a whole person. You might have heard that before, but oftentimes we don't really think it through. What does that mean? You have to have your own identity, your own passion. Be clear on what God has called you to do in your life. And if you haven't figured that out yet, then guess what? It's probably too soon to start a relationship, a lifelong relationship with someone else. It's very important to make sure you feel that excitement and joy about everything that person brings to the table. Yes, there's always going to be something that might be a little annoying, but for the most part, you are proud to bring them into any room. They're the first person you think of talking about, talking to, praying with, praising with. And that is what makes the real deliciousness of a long-term, forever relationship. So no more deception. Let's walk into relationships with our eyes open, first of all, realizing who we are before the Lord, having a love for ourselves in the way that God has for us, and then we can share that love with other people, and we can make sure that they're loving us back the same way.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Don't you give up now. Don't you give up now.
This love that I found was not very full. He was right here, present in my heart. But at that time, my eyes were blind.
Now, I'm sure writing the book was cathartic for you. It was a way for you to process. What were some of the things that you learned about yourself as you were completing this book?
I'm stronger than I thought I was.
All right, now.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, you know, growing up shy and naive to a lot of things. And, you know, I can recall a time where I just wanted to give up on life, you know, and thought life wasn't worth living, just wanted to give up, you know. And now I know that I'm here for a reason. And God gave me strength, you know, and He made me powerful. He made me, you know, to inspire others. So I know it was meant for me to still be here today. So, you know, God, I tell you, God is just an awesome God.
Yes,
and
He
I
is.
get so excited. I mean, just to sit here and talk to you,
Yes.
you know, is just a blessing, because I look at the times where I wanted to end it all, but
Right.
God had another plan.
Well, you know, and clearly He did have another plan for you. As I mentioned before, you're author. You've since turned this book, Deceived, into a play,
Yes.
into a film.
Yes.
You sing.
Yes.
You have
I crochet clothes.
keywear.
Yes.
I mean, come on now. There's so much in there, and that's
Yes.
awesome. And you may have never have found out the wealth and the depth that was inside of you
Yes.
unless you had gone through this wall. And that's one of the things we have to realize. The negative things that happen to us in our lives, they're not always because that God is trying to destroy us or something like that. He's not. He's a loving God.
Yes.
And what He's trying to do is teach you, grow you, show you. And, you know, it's important for people to realize that you can overcome these circumstances and situations. So, KeishaMaya.com.
Yes. www.keishamayo.com. That's my website. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook, The Real Keisha Mayo, and Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as The Real Keisha Mayo, so I can be reached. And my email address is therealkeishamayo@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Well, I can say, just from speaking to you today, you are the real thing. And that God always makes the real things. He doesn't make imitations. So you're the real thing too.
Yes.
Until next time, I want you to continue to be your very own best hero, because the greatest hero of all said that you were worth it when He gave His life for you on the cross. Don't give up. Win.
It's not over until God says so. Don't you give up now. Don't you give up now. Darker days are just for your door. Don't you give up now. Don't you give up now.
Hi, it's James Muller. I'm on the set of Don't Give Up and Win. Tune in Tuesday at 9:30. You're going to love this show.
Don't Give Up Show with Jacquie Wayans.